Wada sat on the edge of her bed, the envelope trembling in her small hands. Her father's handwriting, familiar, yet almost unreal after all these years, stared back at her. She hesitated, heart hammering in her chest, afraid of what the words inside might say. Would it be an apology? A goodbye? Or something she had longed for but never dared to hope for? She tore it open, and the first line made her breath catch. Wada. I know I have no right to ask, but I need you to hear me. The silence of the empty house pressed against her, and for the first time in years, she felt both fear and a flicker of hope. Wada Carter was only 6 years old when her father, Lucas, packed his suitcase and walked out of their small home. She remembered the sound of the zipper, the scrape of the wheels on the wooden floor, and the long shadow he cast down the hallway as he left to be with a woman named Jenny. Wada didn't understand why he was leaving, she only understood that her father wasn't coming back. For months afterward, she asked innocent questions no one could answer: if he would be home for dinner, if he would read her bedtime stories, if he would come to her birthday. Every time, her mother forced a smile, but Wada could see the sadness behind it. Slowly, painfully, she realized some things were too broken to fix. Still, she never stopped waiting. Every night she sat by the window wrapped in her small blanket, watching for headlights, hoping one of them belonged to her father. But none ever did. By the time Wada turned 12, she had stopped waiting by the window. She told herself she didn't care anymore. She acted strong, laughed loudly, and pretended his absence didn't hurt. But deep inside, the emptiness stayed. Lucas, living miles away with Jenny, carried his own kind of pain. People believed he had moved on, but every quiet morning reminded him of what he had left behind. He missed Wada's laughter, her tiny hand clutching his, the trust in her innocent eyes. The memory of the day he left haunted him so deeply that he avoided looking at himself in the mirror. Guilt never left his side. On Wada's 13th birthday, she found a letter in the mailbox. The familiar handwriting made her heart stop. Her hands shook as she unfolded the paper. In it, Lucas apologized in painful, honest words, admitting that leaving her was the worst mistake of his life and that he missed her every single day. Tears streamed down Wada's face as she pressed the letter to her chest. For the first time in years, she cried in a way she had forgotten how to, soft tears filled with longing instead of anger. A month later, Lucas returned to Maplebrook. His hair was grayer, his posture less certain. He stood on Wada's doorstep, swallowing his fear as she opened the door. They stared at each other in silence, father and daughter, connected by love but separated by years of hurt. Lucas' voice broke when he finally spoke. Wada, I'm so sorry. She didn't speak at first. Tears filled her eyes, and then, in a trembling motion, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Lucas held her tightly, his own tears falling. I never stopped loving you, he whispered. Not for a single day. Through her tears, Wada whispered, then don't leave me again. Lucas nodded against her hair. Never. Not ever again. From that day forward, Lucas did everything he could to rebuild what he had broken. He showed up for dinners, school events, and quiet moments when Wada just needed someone to listen. He apologized more times than she could count, not in words but in actions, steady, patient, present. His relationship with Jenny eventually ended, not because of anger, but because Lucas finally understood that his heart had always remained with the little girl he left behind. Slowly, Wada learned to trust him again. Their bond was fragile at first, stitched together by promises and tears, but it grew stronger with time. Their story was not perfect. It was bruised and painful, filled with mistakes and forgiveness. But it was real, a father finding his way back home, and a daughter learning that even broken love can be rebuilt when both hearts are willing to try.